Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Jarosz with the Summit County Progressive Democrats, continuing our series with the Akron Mayor candidate interviews. Today, I'm joined by Councilman Jeff Wilhite. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Excellent. So to get started, why are you running for mayor?
Well, it's time that City Hall focuses on leadership that is transparent, that's impactful, and quite frankly inclusive. What I hear out on people's front porches as I'm walking, many parts of this city feel they've been neglected, and you're not going to move the city forward if people don't feel like they have a stake in their local government, and that's what I intend to do if elected on May 2nd.
And then why do you believe you are qualified to be mayor?
Well, I've spent my life in this community. I was born and raised here. I know the community extremely well. The one and only thing I brag about myself is that I'm very good at bringing people to the table. Collaborative approaches to problem solving, I think, is the only way any problems can be solved, and certainly in today's fractured society. We have got to come together and listen to everybody, because the answer is always in the middle. It's somewhere in the middle. And if you allow folks the opportunity to share their ideas, their stories, learn what's important to them, you get to good solutions that way.
I appreciate that. And now you've been a county councilman for quite some time now, and I know you've held some other roles. Would you like to highlight any accomplishment that you've had in your years in public service?
Sure. The first thing I did when I got to county council, there was an issue at the time of credit cards information being stolen at the gas pumps. And it was a pretty serious issue. So working with the county legal department, the Consumer Affairs Department, and just looking at best practices across the country, we came up with legislation that is a fuel pump credit card safety system. When you pull up to the gas pump, there's a tag on the credit card portion of the pump. If that tag is broken, don't put your card in there, because that means that has been compromised in some way that could harm you that way. I was sitting at home one Sunday morning, and I read an article about a nursing home over in Copley that was horrifically treating folks who were in that nursing home. And unfortunately, it was one of the top 5 worst nursing homes in the country. And I cannot remember ever learning of something and being so incensed. The range of emotion was amazing. I was angry to the point that I had tears in my eyes reading the story about how these ladies and gentlemen were being treated in the final chapter of their life. I didn't think that was something that we as a community could stand for. So we put together a nursing home task force. We are still diving into different areas, but we were able to address some key areas that we could address early on, and we're looking at long-term solutions as well. We'll be announcing here soon, as strange as it may sound, Mei Chen, who was the previous director of Asia Action Inc., was telling us at one of the meetings about a restaurant here in Cuyahoga Falls. I think it was in Cuyahoga Falls, that because the labor shortage is so severe, they got robots to be servers in the restaurant. And a big issue with ST&As, we ask them to do an awful lot of hard work, and they don't get paid a living wage, and that's just not right. It is very difficult taking care of another human being, and you want those ladies and gentlemen who are in the nursing homes and assisted living facilities to be respected in how they're being treated. So we have contracted with a robotics firm. We have 2 nursing homes who will be piloting this project, whereby we'll have the robots doing the more repetitive work that has to be done in human care, and they'll be a pilot. It'll be a pilot, and we'll see how that works to assist ST&As, and hopefully free up their time to be more responsive to the patients that they're responsible for in the nursing home. So we're looking at all kinds of different aspects of that. Very proud of that work. During the tenure that I served as president, We were able to establish that nursing home task force. We looked at a stormwater task force, and we put together a task force to look at racism as a public health crisis. Very proud of those initiatives. And then, as any council member on the Summit County Council, we do an awful lot of work with a lot of the social service agencies in the community, and we have some outstanding agencies. So it's a pleasure to be able to assist them wherever we can as council representatives.
Well, I appreciate that perspective coming from the county council position heading into this mayor race. And now, what does it mean to be progressive? And would you define yourself as a progressive?
Yes, on the last part, and I'll explain why. But to me, I think anyone that's a progressive Democrat is a person who wants to advance the human condition. And I mean that sincerely, because progressive Democrats are more engaged in many of the social justice issues that we're faced with, as a community, and to be a progressive, my opinion is you're an individual who wants to advance the human condition, whether it's anything from voting rights to women's rights, and everything in between. Those are very, very important issues that we as Democrats need to pay attention to. And anytime you can make another person's life better or help them in that journey, that's a good thing. I feel very, very much a progressive Democrat. In looking at my definition of it, advancing the human condition, I do that every day. I'm executive director of a program called Family Promise. We help homeless families with children get back into sustainable housing. And to be able to do it in the manner that we do, within a 60-day time period, families go from a situation of homelessness to being housed and back on track going forward, which leads me to an issue that I am extremely passionate about, and that's housing, in particularly affordable housing. Right now, 49% of the Akron population rents. And there are many who say they want to grow the population for the city. As long as you have a 49% rental rate in the city, you're not going to advance the population, because it's not a situation where people feel they have an ownership in the community, and we've got to address that. Not everybody can afford $250,000 homes and up. We need to be focusing on affordable and very, very nice, very decent housing for folks who don't have the resources to afford those kinds of homes. Yes, you need a mix of housing. You need to have those available for those who can afford it. We want them here, obviously. But for the children that I see on a regular basis in Family Promise, they don't have the luxury of going to school and knowing that when they come home, they're going to come home to the same place they left. Many of them are homeless. Many of them are in situations where they've been in families that have, for generations, been renters. They've never had a home to call their own. And children know what environment they're in, and they take that with them throughout the course of their life. And they know if you care, and they know if you don't care. And it's very hard for single moms, single dads, young families. They're both working hard, and they just don't have the financial resources sometimes to provide for their families to be able to have a home of their own. We have to change that as a community. It's an issue nationwide, yes, but we can't sit back and say, okay, it's a national problem, so we can't solve it. We can solve anything in this city. We have the talent, we have the resources, and we have the ingenuity and folks who have a can-do spirit. How about we turn the table? How about we create a program that becomes a national model, and people look to us as a city of solutions, not a city as go along to get along.
Excellent. I appreciate that deep dive into housing, and that's a major issue here in this city, so I appreciate you addressing that issue. And now, as you've talked with other members of the community along your campaign trail, were there some other issues that popped up that you thought would be important to address, or that you might have a solution to as well?
Yeah, I'm actually very pleased. This past Monday, there the press club released the results of Akron Decides. I put my platform out there in October of last year, and I was very pleased to see that my platform mirrors exactly what the study says. Now, when I say my platform, it's not something that I focused on. It was something that I put together based on what I was hearing from people in the community. And certainly another issue that's top of mind all across the city is safety. We have a situation right now where safety is on the top of mind of everybody,
Right.
and that's in your home, in your neighborhood, and in your workplace, in our schools. We have to address that. It's getting harder and harder for safety forces to hire. Recruiting is very difficult. We have to figure out how we can address that going forward. And that's everything from if citizens want to have a Ring camera on their front porch. I've been amazed at how many homes I've knocked on the door, and there are Ring cameras, which is great, because that gives you one more front line of being able to feel safe in your home. The city did put together a Ring camera program. I will expand that if elected mayor, so that anybody in the city who would like to have that on their front porch or their back door, they've got it. And if it makes them feel safer, then that's a good thing. Being able to work both with the police and with the community, because it has to be a mutual arrangement. Citizens have to feel respected. They have to feel protected in the process, and vice versa. Our safety forces, they have to feel respected and protected and safe as well. So it's a mutual street. There are a lot of ways to address that, but it's a situation that we have to pay a lot of attention to going forward.
And now, speaking on that safety issue, we know with the passing of Issue 10 that brought in the Police Citizen Oversight Committee, the Citizens Police Oversight Board. Now, do you believe this is enough, or do you believe there's more steps we need to take as a community to bring about more accountability to policing in Akron?
Well, I think as a result of Monday's city council meeting, I think we have to do more. Clearly, Issue 10 in and of itself, I know there were people that were for it, there were people that were against it, but you have to look at the fact that those ladies and gentlemen who circulated the petitions, they got the names on the petitions, they got the issue on the ballot, and the electorate voted, and 62% plus said yes of the folks that voted. So it's now law. And being a nation of laws, we have to respect that, and we have to make sure that goes forward in a real and positive way. What I would hope would happen is that the ladies and gentlemen, when they are seated on that committee, that they commit to auditing the police academy as a way to learn what it is to be a police officer, and as well as doing ride-alongs so they can see what police officers experience on a daily basis. Because if they're going to be trying to reform, if they're going to be looking at issues related to policing, you have to understand what it's all about. That would be like me saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to be on a medical review board and have no medical background whatsoever. Yeah. It's no different than that. Sure. Because we have to do it mutually respective of each side of the equation. And but I think it was a fantastic civics lesson on the part of the ladies and gentlemen that did Issue 10, because they showed that democracy with a small d still works. They did their civic duty, and they got an answer to an issue very, very much top of mind, very concerned about that. And I think whoever sits in that mayor's seat after this election has to understand that that's not the last time you're going to see citizen reform if you're not inclusive of your community. If you're not transparent, if you don't make them feel included in decision-making processes, if they feel ignored in that process, you are going to see more referendums on the ballot, and the people are going to tell us what they want and not wait for us to respond. And to me, that's exciting.
Right.
That's government, how it's supposed to work. And I absolutely will stand up any day of the week and support that.
Now, with the recent decision back in December of 2022, the City Council approved the White Pond project. What was your thoughts on the project itself?
I think it's a missed opportunity. I think it was handled too quickly. We don't have a lot of green space left in Akron. We have a lot of vacant property that is just as valuable as green space, in my opinion. I say that because where a lot of these properties are located, they're in neighborhoods that already have streets, already have sidewalks, already have sewers, already have water, already have electric. It's all there. You don't have to add that to a greenfield site. Now, going back to the housing piece, how do we take advantage of that property and put a house back on it? And some people say, well, if you're going to do that, it's got to be a mass number of houses. No, you got to start somewhere. And right now, if you look at that vacant property, it's a zero-sum game. It's not producing property taxes. There's nobody living on that. It's not helping that neighborhood just sitting there empty. So I've always said I would rather have 5% of something than 100% of nothing. So if we have a housing initiative to reclaim that property, if we pay attention and not tear down everything to start new and do restoration work on houses that are already there, that's a priority. It all has to come under, though, a master land use plan. We have got to do that. And that's what was missing with White Pond. Now, one side says that, oh, we had public hearings and nobody showed up. When were the public hearings? People work. People have things going on in their lives. We have to stop looking at 1950-style community information and realize we have to inform people under today's standards and communication tools. Many people would say, what are they? Because it is such a fragmented information society today, or system today. Yeah. How do you get word to people? Whether people come to you in the 11th hour and say, hey, nobody told us about this, or they're right there from the beginning. If a neighborhood says they don't want something, listen to them, because here's the deal. They bought their house, they pay their taxes there, they're a part of that fabric of that community, and it should be heard loud and clear what they want for their community. Now there are people who argue with me that I always use Summit Lake as a prime example of how to do it right. People say, well, there's a lake there, there's water there, water's an attraction for development. Yeah. No, I don't argue that at all. But what happened there is the community went to the ladies and gentlemen who live around Summit Lake and said, what do you want? What do you see your neighborhood being? It's been fantastic. They have attracted dollars from outside of Akron to be a part of the redevelopment of what Summit Lake is going to be, and it's going to be fantastic. What we have to be careful that we don't do is that we don't drive the residents that are there out by building $250,000 homes, and they can't stay in the community that they helped redesign. We have to pay attention to that going forward. That said, White Pond, it's one of the few large green spaces that we have, much like Tice Road's woods. Those are areas that I think should be totally left alone unless and until we have a mutually developed land use plan for the city. And my opinion, green space should be the last on the list in terms of development. I think we could incentivize developers to go and do things on property that already exists and really make them successful as well as the community being successful.
Now, what is the best way for people to either donate, to volunteer, or get more information about your campaign?
Sure. Thank you for that. If you go to our website, it's Wilhite4Akron.com. Everything you need is on there. Another part on there, I think, to help support the fact that I want to be inclusive is that obviously there's a donation button on there, but we have a language translation button on there too. And I say that because we're fortunate in Akron that we've had a resettlement population on North Hill. Quite frankly, those ladies and gentlemen coming here saved us. from a census perspective, because our numbers would have been much less had they not chosen to come here and have their lives here in Akron. So instead of ignoring them, we need to celebrate them. And I think a great way to do that is to make them included in decisions, help not make them, but give them the opportunity to be inclusive in where this city goes in the future. And so there's translation buttons on there. They can do that if they want. But Wilhite, the number 4 Akron.com is the best place to go. And I hope folks will visit us and see what we're all about.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank
speak with me
you.
today.
Nathan, appreciate
And so
it.
we
Thank
have
you.
Councilman Jeff Wilhite, Summit County Councilman, candidate for Akron Mayor. Thank you for watching.